Right. The first thing I want to ask is that everybody has some paper and a pen nearby, because perfect, because later on I'm going to take you through this beautiful relaxation and a nice body exploration. And when we get to the end of that, I just want you to be able to go straight to your pen and paper and write for 5 or 10 minutes, just without thinking. And by then you won't be thinking, so don't worry about that. So tonight, as I said, we're having a little chat about, specifically in the context of, staying sane, specifically, let's talk about our bodies and let's talk about what's happening in the body because of what we're all going through. And I think we all know that stress has a huge impact on the body. That's something that we talk about a lot. We know that stress has negative impacts on health. We talk a lot about stress in terms of the hypertension of certain muscles. Everybody knows that moment where you go to give somebody a massage and you go, oh, that's a big knot. What's that stressful thing? So we all have a general understanding that the body holds stress. But I would say that what we're going through is even one step further. I'd say that we're now probably experiencing a little bit of also trauma response in the body. And all trauma is very stressful, but not all stress is trauma. So I'm going to add to what we know about stress. I'm going to add a few things to that to help you to understand, because maybe you're having some physical experiences that you might not have had before, or that you might not have named and recognized. And I think there's incredible power in being able to name what we're feeling, what we're going through. And those feelings can be sensations or they can be emotions. But I think when we name what we're experiencing, we feel more calm because we can identify what's going on within us. And we're a little bit more in control of being a bit playful with it and gently shifting it. So when we talk about trauma's effect on the body, what we're talking about is survival energy. When we experience trauma, the whole nervous system gets completely flooded and overloaded. Cortisol and adrenaline go shooting up, and the body starts shifting into the fight, flight, or freeze responses. And when those things happen, they're being fueled by this hyperadrenaline. And so there's a lot of things that we can be experiencing. We know that the fight response is preparing us to battle, that the flight response wants us just to run. And the freeze response, we've seen it when sometimes an animal will absolutely collapse and play dead. And then maybe later it's able to jump up and escape when the moment is right. And that's part of a freeze response. And in the freeze response as well is a kind of numbness that comes over the body. It can be a bit like shock. And this can be really great because it decreases the pain that we're experiencing. These are also reasons why people struggle with memory loss. So one of the reasons I also recommend doing a lot of writing during this time. And writing is something we'll talk about also next week in relation to having rituals. So one of the reasons that I talk about writing in trauma is because of these amazing hormones flooding our bodies. One of the side effects is that we do struggle a little bit with short-term memory. And you might think, I will never forget this. You will forget a lot of this. You will forget an extraordinary amount. And actually the body is designed that way, because it protects you from a lot of the trauma, which helps you to recover faster. But sometimes that means we get all of this energy because we can't fight the virus. We can't run from the virus. The virus won't hurt us. So we're having these huge, amazing fight, flight, freeze responses in the body because it's a huge experience, but we don't have a way to release this buildup of energy in the body. So the energy has been activated, but it's got nowhere to go. And so one of the theories that they talk about with trauma in the body is that that energy that gets activated never gets discharged, and it actually gets trapped in the body. And so some of the things that you might be experiencing because of these floods of hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, so you might be experiencing some pain, neck pain, back pain. You might find that you're having headaches. You might be experiencing digestive troubles. You might be feeling tightness in the gut. You might be feeling a really unsettled stomach, and increased reactivity. If you have any allergies, if you had food sensitivities, you might find that those are really increasing. I had to quit coffee because I would drink half of my coffee and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm vibrating around my bedroom. because my body was already so stimulated. It didn't need the caffeine. So these are some of the ways we're noticing. We might start to notice that our breathing is different. We notice that maybe we're breathing more shallowly, so quite short, shallow breaths, and that breath might be speeding up. And connected with that, you might find that's happening also with your heart rate and your general rhythm. You might find that your heart is pounding and that you're having this kind of anxiety. And that can go all the way to having panic attacks. In some cases, I've had friends reach out to me, I'm having a panic attack today. Okay. And so that comes with all that, that pounding heart. You could find that you've got challenges regulating your temperature. So when we're going into the fight or flight responses, all of the nerves, everything is redirecting all of the energy into the core organs of the body to protect the core organs and to prepare the muscles for running, for sprinting. So you might find that you're getting really cold hands and feet sometimes. You're having trouble getting warm, or even that you're overheating. Sometimes when you're sleeping, you might find that you're really sweating at night in a way that you don't usually. So that temperature regulation. You might be feeling quite spaced out and quite blank. And we find that a lot in that freeze response where you've just, you've checked out and you go, I can't think. I can't, I just stared at my leg for 2 hours. What happened today? And that's part of that freeze response, that difficulty thinking, that spaced out feeling, that restlessness, a lot of energy, or it can go the other way and you can be feeling complete lethargy, really low energy, almost chronic fatigue levels of tired. And if you have chronic fatigue, it can be triggered by this, what we're going through. And so all of these are in there. You might find that your skin is breaking out, any skin disorders, any rashes. You might have more pimples than usual. Simple things like this, all connected with your digestive system. Because when our systems are overloaded, they're not able to clean themselves as they usually do, because all of the energy is going to the survival system. So your body's not really cleaning out like it usually does because all the energy's been redirected. So a lot of those things might be going on. And so we can see that this is more than stress. This is a whole other level of physical reaction that we're going through. And so we can look at that in terms of, we could break some of these down into, because you can move between them, right? We can break it into a few categories. So there's hyperarousal. So that's all those ones where it's like your increased heart rate, maybe you're even sweating, the shallow breathing, the rapid breath, maybe even panting. You might get cold sweats, tingling, a lot of muscle tension. Your thoughts can be spiraling. You're going to have a real difficulty controlling your mind, which is racing. And that's generally connected a lot with worrying. So that's that hyperarousal. Then there's that constriction. And in constriction, that's when all those blood vessels are constricting. And so because of that, you start to experience a bit of cold and even numbness in your extremities. You're sort of losing your awareness even of parts of your body, especially the extremities, because all of the blood is rushing into the center. This is where the digestive system shuts down because it's in emergency state. And that's why you will actually be feeling things like, I feel numb, I feel shut down, I don't feel hungry, I don't feel thirsty, I don't feel much at all, actually. That's that constriction. And then we can move into the kind of dissociation denial, which goes a little bit further. And that's when you're really feeling completely absent, unable to think, and not only numb, but numb and disconnected, and even disconnected from whole body parts. Like you might bump into something because you've completely lost your awareness of your body. So that tends to be when we bump into the table that we've walked past 1,000 times before, but all of a sudden we've lost our sense of our boundaries because we've disconnected our body awareness. And out of those disconnections tends to be where chronic pain gets developed in connection to trauma. Chronic pain tends to come out of places that we've disconnected our awareness from. And so because of that, they're suffering and we don't realize until the pain becomes very chronic. And some of that might come up later when we do our little body-based meditation. It's quite common for some of these chronic pains to actually come up the moment you relax. Because when you relax, you reconnect with your body and it can talk to you again. So a lot of things tend to occasionally scream like, hey, I'm really hurting. And you go, oh, I thought I was relaxing. Why is my neck so sore? That's all normal. And I'll talk about that more when we go through. Then there's also that feeling of just feeling very helpless. And this is part of the freeze response, where you can feel helpless, collapsed, completely stuck, immobile, frozen. That's where you're just standing in the middle of the room and you really don't, what do I do? Do I sit down? Do I go to the kitchen? What was I doing? Where was I? And you're just stuck. And I think we can all have moments of those, moments like those in times like these, because what we're going through is really extraordinary. And I think, you know, one of the things that I heard that really made me laugh was someone wrote, and it went around, I either feel like I'm overreacting or underreacting in every moment. And I think that that's really true, because it's so difficult for us to get a handle on the situation itself. It's so far out of our control. And it's so difficult for us to measure the risk. What is the actual level of risk in the big picture? But also for me right now, I'm in my bedroom, I'm on the computer on Zoom, I'm perfectly safe, but my system is having trouble evaluating how big the risk is, because I might just go and have a look at the numbers right now. I might just read an article right now about the number of people infected in the States, or the terrible number of people who are dying in Italy. So all of a sudden my system, which was until then saying, I'm safe, the risk is small, I'm in a safe environment, then I start consuming all the news and my system ramps into overdrive, says I'm not safe, I'm in danger, I'm in serious danger, I need to panic, I need to fight, I need to run, and I ramp up my nervous system again. And then suddenly I find myself back in one of the trauma responses. So one of the things that I want to talk about, I just want to acknowledge in relation to maintaining our bodies and maintaining our levels of stress, is to really control your input. Really control when you check the news, when you go on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or all of the different things. When you allow input into your system, please regulate it and control it, because this is going to give your body a gift. One of the things that happens on Facebook or all the other mediums, you don't get to choose whether you're going to be laughing or crying or panicking based on what you see. I mean, it's usually some sort of mix of all of them, but that is a lot of input. So you need to reduce the amount of hours that you're putting your system through that, because that is asking your system to dive into unpredictability in a situation that's already pretty out of control. And then your poor body is just reacting to news, to comedy, to flags and people singing, and then you're weeping, and then, ooh, it's a lot. And we need it, because we need to purge our feelings. We need to know the reality. We need to engage, but we have to control how much, so we don't crash our systems. So all of these kind of symptoms that I've talked about just before now, these are signs for you that your system is overwhelmed. You know that if you start getting like dysregulated digestion, you're dehydrated, you're over anxious, you can't sleep very well. None of us can sleep very well, but if it's hitting extremes, you know that if you're getting that incredible, inexplicable pain and headaches, the restlessness, the sweats, you know your system's in overdrive. So it's time to make some different choices about how you regulate your body. So what we're going to do, because one of the things that I want to acknowledge is that what we're going through is continuous. So this isn't a clean trauma. This isn't like, oh, the thing has happened and now we're in the aftermath dealing it. This is ongoing and it's continuous. And so because of that, we have to monitor ourselves more carefully. We have to treat our energy as incredibly precious, and we have to ration it because we're in it for the long haul. And so because of that, and or at any time really, I believe this anyway, but especially in this context, we can't just abandon our bodies until the end. We have to start listening to our bodies now and using our bodies to help us through the experience rather than kind of sacrificing them to the experience. And so that's what we're going to do now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to guide you through a relaxation first. And then after the relaxation, a little sensory opening, and then you'll go into writing. Now, when we do this relaxation, I want you to feel free to change position at any time. So often when we relax, that's when all of a sudden I go, oh, actually my back is really sore, or oh, my neck, or whatever your body says to you, I want your answer to be yes. So if your body says, I really need to lie down, you lie down. If your body says, oh, could you please put a pillow and a leg up there? And you go, okay, I'm going to do that. Most of the time in our lives, when our bodies are talking to us, we usually answer, not right now. I'm very busy. I have to go. I can't put a pillow under my neck in front of a client. I've got to get the kids. I've got no time for a sore back right now. Absolutely not. Most of the time, we're not able to listen to our bodies. But here, right now, for half an hour or however long I accidentally go for, I want you to just say yes to everything your body needs. So please feel free to shift positions, to lay down, to put a blanket on, to get the heater, to put a pillow, to drink a glass of water, whatever it is. When your body starts speaking, say yes. And sometimes when we start to relax, when we move into some of the more inner world, sometimes it can actually feel a bit uncomfortable. And if you're like me and you have a history of trauma in the body, sometimes going into the body can be too strong. So I'm going to be reminding you throughout the relaxation and then the meditation, I'm going to be reminding you over and over again, if you feel like it's too much, come back out and just come back to the relaxed state of being. And that's all you need to do. So if we get to the stage where we're going into the body and you go, oh no, do you know what? Like this is, I'm having responses. I feel uncomfortable. I don't like it in there. I don't want to go in there. That is 100% fine, normal. And your job is to go, okay, body, I hear you. I hear you that it's too much right now. So I'm just going to come back out. And you come back to the relaxed state and just stay there. Okay, so have your pen and paper somewhere nearby, because now we're going to do the little relaxation. So wherever you are, if you're laying down or if you're in a chair, it really doesn't matter. You can close your eyes, you can leave them open, you can close them when you feel like it. But wherever you are, the first thing that I want you to do is just notice where your body is in contact. So what's supporting your body right now? What's holding your body up right now? So for me, I'm sitting in a chair. So I'm taking my awareness to the backs of my legs, to my bottom. And I'm feeling the way that the weight of my body is dropping into the chair. And I can also feel my feet on the floor. And I'm taking my awareness down to the bottoms of my feet. And I'm just noticing. I'm just letting myself notice the quality of that contact. And now I let myself notice my breath. And I don't try to change it. There is nothing to change or fix. So I just let myself observe my own breath. I notice maybe where in my body my breath is arriving. how deep or how shallow, where I'm breathing in, my nose, my mouth, the mix of the two. And I notice whether, just by noticing, whether that changes. So I call this relaxation, I rest on my bones and my bones rest on the earth. So our bones are really quite extraordinary because they're designed to hold the weight of our body. And if we can allow them to do their job, if we can allow the bones to be bones, then we can allow our muscles to let go because we can trust that the bones will hold. We don't have to hold ourselves up all the time. All we have to do is put our bones as they're meant to be, nicely in alignment, which doesn't mean, oh, I push my shoulders back so my chest is out, or all of those things are hyperextensions. I'm looking for that beautiful place where the bones are just in alignment so that everything can rest. So I start from my feet. And if I'm seated, I just check that my feet are nicely spaced with my knees slightly apart. My knees should be underneath my hips or in line with my hips, depending if I'm standing or sitting. And I let myself notice that the weight of my body passes down the bones of my legs, into the bones of my feet, spreads and vanishes into the ground. So actually the ground is holding me. So I don't need to hold anything. So I take my awareness through my feet, through the bottoms of my legs, and I take my awareness through each of the muscles and I ask them the question, could it be lighter? What could I let go? And I don't force anything. I just let my body respond how it wants to. All I have to do is take my awareness and ask the question, and my body will adjust itself in any way that it wants to. And I bring my awareness further up my thighs, very strong muscles. But I remember that my thigh bones are extremely powerful. So whether I'm sitting or standing, I find the right position where my thighs are balanced nicely, either resting and melting into the chair, or balanced beautifully over soft knees if I'm standing. And I say, what can I let go? Could it be lighter? Could it be easier? What would it mean to do less? And I bring my awareness into my hips and into my bottom, because we hold a lot in this area. We often talk about this as the seat of the past. We carry a lot of baggage down there. And so I'm taking my awareness into all of those big muscle groups, all around the big pelvis. And I'm remembering that my pelvis is such a powerful part of my bone structure. It is a massive bowl. And in the curve of that massive bowl, the entire spine is balanced perfectly. And at the top of the spine is my head. So my head is actually held by the bowl of my pelvis. So if I trust that beautiful large pelvic bone, I can say to all the muscles around, what would it mean to do less? And I just notice my breathing again. As I allow the muscles all the way from my feet to my calves, to my thighs, to my bottom, to my hips, as I allow them to be lighter, as I allow them to let go, I just notice how I'm breathing. And then I begin at the bottom of my spine. And I just run my awareness up each bone of the spine, just checking the position of my body. I want to find the place where each bone of the spine is just resting on top of the other. And it's designed with the most magnificent wings, so it can't fall over. Your back won't suddenly fold in half. You can release, and you're not going to suddenly fold in two. You can trust it. So I'm taking my awareness up through the lumbar, and I'm just checking, is my spine beautifully balanced over the bowl of my hips? So that all of the muscles in my sides, in my stomach, in my lower back, these beautiful, big, sweeping, wrapping muscles, can they let go? Because my weight is being held by the bones of the spine and the bowl of the pelvis, and running through the bones of the legs and down through the feet and disappearing into the floor. And as I follow my way up my spine, I arrive at my rib cage. And I remind myself that my rib cage is not a cage. Actually, it's incredibly soft and it moves in all directions when I breathe. It expands forward and backward, and it expands to either side. And so I remember that my ribs can float. They can float in and out as I'm breathing. So when I need to take a deep breath, I don't need to arch my back. I don't need to do anything dramatic except allow my body to float outwards and inwards in every direction, forwards and back and side to side. And I remind my ribs that they can float. And so I ask that same question around any points of sensitivity. I say, could it be lighter? Could it be easier? How can I let go? And as I come into my shoulders, I remember that my arms are very firmly attached. So I want to set them hanging by my sides. And I want to remind myself that if I stop holding my arms and I let them be at weight, they're not going to fall off. And if I need to remember that, maybe I do that thing little kids do, where they swing a little bit and they let the weight of their body swing their arms around. So I can swing my arms just a little using my body and let the weight be the thing that creates the movement. So I'm taking my awareness all through my chest. And here we might find some emotional responses. Here, as we're taking our awareness through the chest, through the shoulders, and we're inviting them to just let go, to be lighter. You might feel you might feel some tears. You might feel a little flutter in your breath. You might feel a jolt of anxiety. Any place in your body where you're taking the relaxation through and you feel emotions rising or pain rising, it's all good. It's all good. It's just that's where your body was holding some of this experience. So we might be finding some of that now in the sternum, in the shoulders, across the chest, because this is a pretty common place to be protecting ourselves. When that happens, just allow the feeling. stay with the feeling, breathe, cry if you need to cry, whatever it is. Sometimes a little tremble, a little shake, a little shiver can really help, can be a really nice way to release a little bit of trapped anxiety. So allow yourself to follow those impulses and then come back to the relaxed state when you're ready. We're coming up through the spine. We're letting our arms drop, our beautiful collarbones, shoulder blades. We're letting all of that. We're trusting our bones and letting all of the muscles around them release. We come up through the neck. And we're looking for that place when we decide where to position our head. We're looking for the place where the head is almost weightless because it's balanced so nicely on the spine, which is sitting so nicely over the pelvis. And you know that you've found it as you shift your head very gently forward and back and side to side, very gently, so you can feel the tiny, tiny changes. It's the place where your jaw just drops a little. So often it's a tiny bit more forward than we're expecting. So it's the place where the jaw goes, oh, and drops on its hinge. And I want to invite you to really take your awareness, those huge muscles that wrap from the back of the head around the jaw. I really want you to take your awareness into those and say, oh, could it be lighter? What can I let go? Could it be easier? Something very peculiar about stress and worry is that when we have those racing thoughts, whenever we think in words. And so the body is subconsciously activating all of the speaking apparatus in the body. It's activating the muscles of the tongue, of the neck, of the throat, of the jaw. And it's ever so microscopically creating the shapes of words as we think and as all of the muscles are tensed at the ready for speech because we're thinking in language. And so because of that, this is one of the huge places where we hold so much of our anxiety. So this is a really beautiful part to come to and say, how can it be lighter? How can it be easier? What can I let go? And as you allow your jaw to drop, as you allow some of that tension to release, just notice your breathing. And we're just allowing that breath to flow in and out. We're not forcing it. We're not trying to control it. We're just relaxing and getting out of its way. And so now I just give my body a little bit of a scan. I keep my body in that nice place where it's at its most balanced. And I allow myself tiny movements. Maybe it's a very small shifting forward and back. It could be with just my head. Because that center point of balance is not somewhere you can stay fixed, because then you become rigid. But you can pass through it. So if I'm standing, you'll notice, you'll see me at the train station sometimes, and I'll just be rocking ever so slightly, and I might look a bit mad, but I'm feeling myself pass through that beautiful center point in my balance, where for a moment I'm weightless. So I allow myself to be a little bit like a reed, just shifting gently in the wind. And so I want you to find that tiny movement in your body. However you're sitting or standing, what's that tiny movement in your body that allows you to pass through that center point of feeling very tall and very balanced? And keep the movement really microscopic so that you can maintain the relaxation in your body. This is your anchor. This feeling here, this feeling of inviting your body to relax, of trusting your bones to be balanced and to hold you, and trusting the ground beneath them to hold them, so you can really let go and be ever so gently in this slight movement that's quite soothing. This is your safe place to come back to. And here, as you notice your breathing, I imagine now your breathing is a little bit different to the first time you noticed it. So what we're doing is we're giving our bodies a feeling of safety. And sometimes these slight movements can feel more safe than trying to sit very, very still. This slight swaying, slight rocking creates more of a feeling of calm when our systems are so overstimulated that they're in trauma. Sometimes trying to be too still can make the trauma feel worse. It can increase the anxiety and the tension. So we stay here with these gentle, tiny movements, relaxed body. I'm swaying on my bones. And anytime I notice a little bit of tension bubble up in my body, I just notice it. And I make that invitation. What would it be like to let go? Could it be lighter? What would it mean to do less? And now from this relaxed state, I'm going to take your awareness into the room. And I want you to start with smell. I want you to make a map of all the smells you can smell in your environment right now. Connecting with your breath, passing into a relaxed body. How many smells can you find? Which are the smells coming from you and your body, and which are the smells coming from the environment? Bridging from that, I want you to start to notice taste. What is the taste of this moment? 6:14 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, Roman Italian time, has a specific taste that has never existed before and will never exist again. Can you find the taste of this moment? What does it taste like? From taste, I want you to start to build a map of all of the temperatures. How many temperatures can you find in this moment right now? And where are they? The inside of your mouth has one temperature, but the palms of your hand have another temperature, and the backs of your hand a different temperature. What temperature is the room? Where does the temperature of the room stop and the temperature of your skin begin? How many temperatures can you find in this moment right now? How many different rhythms can you find? What is the rhythm of your body right now? And maybe your body is more than one rhythm. Maybe your heart is beating one rhythm, your breath is another, and maybe your arms and legs are a different rhythm entirely. How many rhythms can you find in your body? And then what is the rhythm of the room that you're in? If this room had a rhythm, what is that rhythm? What is the rhythm of the building that you're in? What is the rhythm of the street, of the suburb? And how is your internal rhythm different to the rhythm of the street? What's the rhythm of the city that you're in right now at 6:18 on a Tuesday afternoon? What is the rhythm of the country? What is the rhythm of Italy, of Germany, of Australia? And when you put all of the rhythms together from macro to micro, can you feel for just a moment the symphony of all the counter rhythms? What are all of the sounds you can hear? From the tiniest, most intimate sound, maybe it's the swallow inside your mouth, to the most distant thing. What is the most distant thing you can hear right now? Now, while we've been doing this, your body has probably got a lot to say right now. And there's a part of your body that really wants your attention right now. And maybe you know which part of your body it is because maybe that's where some pain has come. Maybe it just feels a little unsettled there. I just want you to follow your impulse. And I want you to take your hand, whichever hand you like, and very lightly, I want you to lay your hand over the part of your body that would really like your attention right now. And you can change position however you need to so that you can just be really comfortable resting your hands on that part of your body, wherever it is. And as you leave your hand there, I want you to ask yourself, what is a touch that listens instead of speaks? So your hand is an ear. I don't want you to massage the part of your body. I don't want you to poke it or prod it, because all of those things are saying to your body, you need to be different. Instead, what we want our hand to say is, I'm here, I'm listening, and I'm keeping you company exactly as you are. And we just notice how we're breathing as we allow ourselves to be with this part of the body. If at any point in any of this work here, it starts to feel a bit too uncomfortable, you go back to your nice relaxed swaying, go back to mapping the colors in the room or the smells in the room. At any point, if you go, oh no, I don't want to be in here because it's a bit too stressful, you can come out and keep doing that beautiful observation work. Just mapping now in as many textures as you can find. If you're comfortable to stay with this part of your body, I want you to take your awareness right into that part of the body. And I want you to notice if any feelings come up. Notice if any other parts of your body change or stiffen or tense in response. You don't have to change anything, we're just noticing. What is the temperature inside this part of your body? What is the rhythm? If this specific part of your body where your hand is resting has a rhythm, which is its rhythm? Maybe some sound comes into your mind as you're experiencing the rhythm. What is the sound of this body part? What does it taste like? If this part of the body had a taste, what flavors come into your mouth? Is there a smell? Now I want you to allow any images, any memories, any stories, any colors, anything else that might be there. However your body speaks to you. You may feel some of these or none of them. You might feel a huge resistance where you go, no, I feel nothing at all. All of it is correct. There's no right answer. But just take a last minute with that part of your body and allow whatever's there, anywhere from frustration to full images, just let that wash through and be there with that just for a minute. And then very gently take your hand away and come back to your breathing. You can think about exhaling any tension that you might be feeling. You might have found some tension there, a bit of discomfort. On the exhale, you can think about just releasing that, letting that flow out of you. And then I want you to go to your pen and paper, and you've got 5 minutes, and I just want you to write consistently. You can write about what you felt, what you saw, thoughts, whatever you want. But you've got 5 minutes now to just write, 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 write. got 2 more minutes of writing. Okay, start to wrap up. Any last thoughts? Though you'll be able to write more once we're done, of course, if you've hit a flow. So in the next days, because now you've started a little bit of body awareness, so when you start to open up the body, it doesn't just close up again. It's going to stay open for a little while. So what that means is that I want you to be really gentle with yourself in the coming days. I want you to listen to your body in the coming days. If it talks to you through pain, through anxiety, through those things, I want you to be really gentle. And the other thing that I want you to do, I want you to write down your dreams every morning. Because as the body readjusts itself, I think already we're having some pretty vivid dreaming because of what we're going through. And when you start to anchor yourself back in your body through an experience that can be quite disembodying, a lot of that starts to get processed in our dreams. So recording our dreams, there's often little messages, little signs in there for us. They tend to tell us what we're feeling anxious about. Dreaming of those kinds of, the shadow men, the kind of, people who are chasing us, or all of that as just figurations of some of the anxiety that we're going through. So you can listen to your dreams for little messages, then they'll come from your body. So I want you to be really gentle with yourselves in the coming days. Notice your breathing, notice your aches and pains, and say yes a little bit more than you usually would to your body. Okay, I'm going to unmute you all now because we've come to the end. I did well this time. I didn't go too over. Okay, I think, did that work? There we go. It's unmuting. There we go. How's everybody doing?
I could fall asleep.
Yay!
I think that's a good thing, no?
It's a great thing. It really
No,
is.
genuinely. That was really good. Thank you. It actually opened my eyes to a few things, which was, I'll be honest, a little bit scary, but also made me quite happy as well. So thank you. I definitely needed that today. We've just moved house in the middle of a lockdown. So yeah, it was much needed. So thank
Brava.
you.
You're welcome. Brava.
Thank you so much. It was amazing. It was really, really good.
Oh, I'm so glad. You're welcome. Does anybody? Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I know that you're doing these sessions with us, and this is the second week now, but how do you manage on a day-to-day basis, the racing thoughts, and then you read the news and it's all a bit crazy and all of us are feeling you know,
Yeah.
because there's no news here in Florence about how long the lockdown is going to last. We
Yeah.
thought it was one day, turns out it could be another, and then now there's nothing.
Yeah.
So how do you, cope with that?
Every day it's different. Every day it's different. So I have my list of like, ideally, here's what I'd like to do.
Yes.
Ideally, I'd like to eat really well. I'd like to stay hydrated. I'd like to not smoke 100 cigarettes. I would like, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
have your dream list. And every day, if you only hit a little chip off one of those things, that's a really good day.
Okay.
That's
Thank
a great day.
Okay.
And I want you to reward yourself for those things.
Yes.
So, I mean, gratitude practice can be beautiful, but in the context of a trauma, sometimes gratitude practices can become, they can produce more anxiety. Because some days you're like, do you know what? I'm not grateful for anything, actually.
Yeah.
Everything is terrible. And
Yeah,
then you
that
feel,
was this morning.
right? And then you feel guilty. Then you feel guilty that you're not grateful, and you create a shame spiral. But that's because we're dealing with something different. We're dealing with trauma. So we're in a really different zone. So when I'm dealing with trauma, instead of practicing like positivity or gratitude or those things, I switch completely and I celebrate my wins.
Okay.
So some days I do better than others. Some days I am bawling my eyes out over the cornflakes completely. But I was able to cry.
Okay.
So I call that a win.
Okay.
Because in my case, I block my tears a lot. So letting myself cry is a win. So there's no perfect recipe. What there is that we know for each of us, like, these are my goals for taking care of myself well.
Yeah.
And I aim for them. And however close I get each day, I celebrate it.
See, okay.
That's going to do more for you than going, I need to only look at it 1 hour today, and then you looked at it 3 and then you feel bad. No.
Yeah.
Have goals, and any tiny chip of that goal is a massive success.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're
That's
welcome.
super helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Marisa, we have a few comments. So Margarita says, thank you. This was beautiful.
Thanks, Margarita.
Leslie says, hi, unfortunately my mic is broken, but I want to say thank you. That was really amazing and quite trauma informed, and allowed a special level of awareness inward and outward. I love this process and how it will grow.
Oh, thanks, Leslie.
And Jasmine, you'll let us know. Thank you. Felt a little bit like hypnosis. Although I never tried that. Almost magic.
I think it's the voice. But thank you. I work very specifically with trauma. I have a big trauma history. I work in performance art. I do body-based therapies. I train in body work as well. So I really combine my mental health advocacy work that I do with very much trauma-informed and body-based practices. So I'm really glad that you could feel that, and that was that was really effective. Next week we're going to shift gear again. So we did our mental health session that was a bit more practical, a bit more concepts. Now we've spent some time in the body. Next week we're going to spend some time with ritual and creativity. So this one's a bit of a curveball, because one of the things that I do in my performance art practice actually is, in order for me to process major trauma, which in my case is things like a history of sexual violence and violence, I create rituals. And I actually create embodied rituals and I perform them, but they're also things that you can do privately. And I do privately, creating little rituals that are both very practical, but sometimes also very poetic, using your body and the objects that you have that become kind of the symbols of the experience that you're having. So we're using our real symbols in creative ways. And that's how you end up with a fantastic meme of the guy dressed fully for the train holding the shower rail. I mean, that is a creative ritual that's using comedy. So we're going to talk about how we can start to get creative and explore the full range from comedy to that more kind of sentimental pathos, because it's whatever you feel. So we're going to be looking at that next week, and I hope I'll see you there.